The great clip champ experiment of 2024 has come to an end.
Yeah. And
You can't export just audio, so it's dead.
oh, wait, I've done this. How did I do this? I've done this.
It does it. You can delete the video and it'll do it as a black video
Well,
with
no,
me,
no, no, no,
but it's
no. You want to,
MP4.
no, I
So
understand
doesn't
that.
matter. I got Adobe back installed. I hate Adobe, but I figured it out.
No, there's got to be something in Windows that will convert.
But see that the problem is like that's just more work than I need. So
No, I understand. So when you do a project in Adobe, you can export in multiple formats. Is that something you do, or how do you do that? Yeah,
MP4, MP3,
yeah.
one
Okay.
button, and be done.
Hmm. Hmm.
The reason why I couldn't install Adobe, which it took me longer than I'd like to acknowledge. First off, Adobe can rot in hell for all that I care.
Oh yeah.
So I purchased a copy of Adobe Premiere Elements 2022, I believe it is. Yeah, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
They deliberately removed download links for that product from their
Oh
website.
yeah. Of course.
So I had to find like a sketchy whatever. I threw it in Windows Sandbox first, installed it like, yeah, this doesn't look like a virus.
So yeah, I'm gonna look
But the
this up
reason
real
why I could not get it installed is I was missing a particular file, which of course I had to go onto Reddit to figure out what it was. I needed to install, it was like the Visual Studio C++, but not the new deployment package stuff. It was the Windows 8 version is what I needed.
Um.
I cannot explain this. It was like Windows C++, whatever that name of that file
Yeah.
is.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But it had to be, there was a specific like 2013 version. And after I installed that, it installed just fine.
I
Make it make sense throughout. I
I
cannot.
can I'm not going to make sense of that, but I might have news. Um. I believe this is a first. So if you remember, go back to Terry Myerson was on stage and he
Mhm.
announced that Adobe was bringing Photoshop Elements and Premiere Elements to the store.
Mhm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And then Photoshop Elements came to the store, but Premiere Elements never did, right?
Never did.
Guess what? You can get it now. Now, here's the thing. You can't get it now. If you go to the store and search for Premiere Elements,
Mhm.
it's not there. However, if you search Winget for Premiere, one of the search results is Premiere Elements 2025, and it has a store link. And now I'm going to type in the name, that little. Yeah, it doesn't show a result. So I think this release is imminent. I'm curious now. I'm going to install it. I mean, see what it does. But yeah, that must be about to happen
Maybe.
because there's literally a link for this in Winget and 2024. Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
back to Adobe because
Sorry, I looked at Winget because you mentioned that they get rid of the links, right?
yes, they do.
So this is also a problem. Well, for Photoshop Elements, same thing. I buy every second or third year of that, right? And so I buy it from the store because that version has the better licensing. And same problem. Like if you're a year or two off, you can't. It's not there anymore, even though it's in your. I mean, you can go actually. You can get it in your library, like which is now called what? Now called library, yes. So you can actually find it there. So you can do that, which isn't, by the way, another interesting reason to use the store, right? So if you ever decide to upgrade on Premiere Elements, assuming this is happening, it's like downloading right now. So like it's there, like that's where it's getting it from. That might be better for the future when you need to re-download it.
I prefer just complaining.
I'd like to acknowledge the fact that I believe I just broke the news that Adobe Premiere Elements is coming.
Well,
to the
let's see if
store
it actually
finally.
does. Maybe
I-
it's what you're going to
Yeah.
download this and it's going to be like go to adobe.com.
Well, yeah. So because Microsoft has opened up the store so much, the licensing thing I just mentioned is not actually universal. So it's possible for an app maker to require you to sign into them and do their own thing, right? So, for example, Affinity is kind of bridging the gap. They actually give you this really a liberal licensing policy. I've never run into a limit with it. I keep installing it. It's no problem. But you have to sign into your account just like you do. Like when you just did with Adobe, like you download an app from Adobe, you have to sign in with your Adobe ID. Hopefully you have 2FA on that thing. Because let me tell you, the Adobe 2FA stuff is about as tedious as it gets. You probably just went through this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You put in your thing, your username or whatever, your email, and then it does like a 2FA thing. It sends you a code, verifies that you're you, and then you have to enter your password. It's like, guys, come on. Just like, Jesus. Anyway, yeah, Adobe, they're the best. How's this thing doing? Let's see. It is supposedly installing. And it's Microsoft, so it says progress. Yeah, 100% now. Oop, boop. It just popped up. Jesus. But
Dark theme not included.
But it has like an animation in the text thing. So it said it's like a spinning like a whatever that little line is, doesn't matter. Spinning, animating it. So it just had that, and then it said ESS : and then a number, that meaning progress. So anyway, yeah, 20. So can I run this thing? Like what happens when I welcome? I'm curious what this is going to do. Oops. It's going to blind me is what it's going to do. Yeah, you have to sign in. So, yeah, maybe that's how they finally got to the store. They're like, we'll just do the same thing we always do. We'll just let you get it from the store, but then you have to sign into us. Yeah. And that allows them to handle the licensing bit, which, they prevent you from installing it on like more than 2 computers, probably. Something like that.
Well, here we are.
Indeed. What is it? Tuesday? This is a short week. If you don't live in the United States, it's Thanksgiving here on Thursday.
Yeah, I forgot to tell Paul we're not doing a podcast tomorrow either because
there you go.
I took the day off and
wow,
I'm gonna be home tomorrow morning. I don't think.
All right. Well, this is it for the week, so we should make this a good one and not what we just did.
No. Talking about Adobe software is what makes this a good one, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I know.
Like we're past the news season now. We're just into the maybe find a good Black Friday deal season.
Our industry goes insane. I saw a headline today that said you can get this Bose headphone for almost 50% off, or what the figure was. Is it better than this other Bose headphone? And I'm like, what do you get? Like half of the headphones? Like what is that's? It's a set. It's not a headphone. Like what do you? Oh, language. It's so hard.
It is difficult,
depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of whatever.
I tell you the Spanish language joke I made. I made a couple on this trip. It was pretty good. But the second one was there's an ongoing kind of joke with Stephanie and I about when you get your meat cooked to whatever degree, like you get beef and you want it cooked medium rare or medium whatever. So I've heard like 27 different ways to say medium rare, but the most common one is termino medio. And this guy cooked the shit out of this thing. It was way overcooked. It came out, it was like a piece of bacon. And he asked me if it was okay. And I said it was termino muerte. And the guy across from me just burst out laughing. And I was like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but
sounded good.
But I'm not eating it. So, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, language. Language is fun, man.
That's why people tune in here.
Is that why? They're in the wrong place.
I don't.
I hope that's not why.
We should just start a Spanish speaking podcast, which would be hilarious because I know.
Oh yeah, just talk like babies to each other. The most frustrating thing is when you see a kid toddling down the street, he's holding like a little rattle or something, and he's like, and you're like, oh, I'm never going to speak Spanish that well. It's like it's really frustrating, but oh well. What are you going to do?
I mean, you could be born again in Spain. You should just blame your parents because they didn't teach you Spanish.
Actually, my parents pushed me in the right direction. When I was in high school, I wanted to take French. Yeah. And just smile for the picture. Close your eyes. And my father said, "Look, you're never going to run into French. Like if you're on the subway in Boston or whatever, if they're going to speak a different language, it's going to be Spanish. Like you should
Hmm.
learn Spanish." I was like, "All right." So I took like 6 years of Spanish, during which time I learned nothing because A, Paul in high school, but B, public education in the 1980s or whatever that was. There was no way to
A
just.
lot of leather jackets.
There was a lot of members only jackets. Also dungaree jackets with like patches that you could iron
Hmm.
onto them. It was a good era.
It's like the
Um,
high point for the Camaro as well. Like you had the IROC
oh,
Z8
easily
back
the high
then.
point. Yes, of course. Yep, that thing was a sled, or it became a sled. It started off as a normally sized vehicle, and it turned into like
Yeah,
a
it had a front hood the size
behemoth.
of Wyoming.
I know someone who took off with his T-tops on, and as he was driving, he tried to take the glass off and pull it in the car,
Oh, I bet that
and
went
it
well.
caught the wind like a kite,
Hmm.
flew through the air, and just shattered all over the ground. I have never laughed so hard in my life. I also had a different friend with a Camaro IROC Z28. We went and got those slushy things, like
Hmm.
it's this ice with blue color on, or whatever it color. Mine was blue, raspberry, I think. And this thing was, it's like the size of my head, sitting in the passenger side, and he had like a stick shift with like ball shift, like like crazy. The thing was herky jerky, and he took off really fast on purpose, and then slammed the brakes on, and I spilled this thing all over me and all over his car. And he said, "I probably just ruined this thing, but it was totally worth it." That's there's no way to summarize that easily, but that's a knucklehead as perfectly as you could define it.
Filled a friend's car with packing peanuts in high school.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I can't remember. He did something to me, some sort of joke or whatever. I cannot remember what it was. And then I remember I had to load my car up with packing peanuts. Like I went to Staples with a friend,
Yeah.
and like these things were in
Well,
my
like
car.
bags of them.
Yeah, yeah. These
Yeah.
things were in my car for. It felt like months, but it was probably just weeks because I had to wait for him to park his
Yep.
car and leave his sunroof open. So,
Oh, it's perfect.
and he did, and
The
then
thing,
we didn't.
if that
It wasn't
guy,
like,
if he still owned that car today, he would still be
oh
finding
God,
little
yeah. Every
pieces
time we
of
get together,
whatever
he's like,
that.
"Remember that time you filled my?" And it wasn't
like,
like all the way up to the top, but it got to like the mid of like the steering wheel.
No, it's beautiful because you
Yeah.
could go in there with like compressed air and spray in some tiny corner, and little white bits would fly out. Like he'll never get rid of that. Every time he turns on the AC for the first time the next year, right in his face. Like, you know what I mean? Like that stuff, you'll never get rid of it.
Yeah, it's like glitter.
Yes. Glitter would have been worse, actually.
Oh man. Yep.
All right. So you're off tomorrow. We're
Yeah.
off the rest of the week.
I'm back the
So
following
I guess we'll
week.
see you in 2025. I don't know.
That's how it
That's gonna-
works. November ends and January begins. There is no
I
month
know,
of
God, I
December.
wish.
I mean, I don't know. Recall is kind of whatever. It's going to float around for a while and maybe do something.
Not a lot of complaints, oddly. For all of the hand-wringing over.
Well, are there that many people with it?
No, but I mean, in other words, like if you go to the register, for example, there's an article they can't stop talking about recall. Like it drives people who are technical crazy for some reason. But now they're like, it's like they have to kind of crap on it. So they're like, well, people are complaining now that like it doesn't save the snapshots immediately, so you can't like just take a snapshot and go look at it like that second. And it's like, actually, it's not that slow, but okay. And I'm like, so this is how the complaining has evolved. It's like before it was like the end of the earth, and now it's like, well, it's a little inconvenient. Like I made the point that the Windows Hello thing makes it inconvenient. Like that's legit.
Mhm.
That's something that normal people are going to bump into. But like the notion that it doesn't save snapshots as quickly as someone would like is not the stupidest thing I've ever heard, but it might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard about recall for sure. Like it's fine. Like
I just want to know what their plans are to bringing it to Intel and AMD devices. Like, what's going to be the baseline so that normal people.
the baseline is the Copilot Plus class PCs, that the Zen 5, Lunar Lake, Arrow Lake. It's that stuff and newer. So that's it. The question is just timing. I bet December soon. I bet we see it in preview there too, or January at the latest. But I think by the time it becomes non-preview, which by the way, Doesn't have to ever be non-preview. Hasn't PowerToys been in beta since 1978 or
I
something?
think
I don't know.
Gmail still is.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like some of these services are just in perpetual preview. So
Yeah, beta is such a lost term anymore. It's
yeah, yep.
If it's available, it's not a beta. We'll just go with
Everything's a lost term. That's the problem. We got to get back to think words that mean something.
that. Yeah, that's why we should all adopt Spanish.
Speaking of language, yeah, exactly.